the old motor is out. Didn't take us too long considering that we basically left just about everything attached, including the headers and the transmission. It only took us about 3 hours to get it disassembled and torn out of the car, which is not bad. The new motor is all assembled in terms of all the new parts that I was putting on it. I have the long block assembled. The only thing really left to do is take all the little sensors and stuff that I was going to reuse, like the pulleys and bolting up the alternator and stuff like that. Going to reuse the transmission, but put a new clutch and flywheel. Got to clean this up, and by that I mean just pressure wash it. It's kind of bittersweet taking out the little 302. First motor I ever did a cam swap on and kind of freshened up the heads and did stuff like that. Nothing major, but there was a couple first timers for me. I am going to keep this motor. I'm probably going to tear it down like this block, go through it, and maybe find another project to put it in. I have a couple ideas brewing on that, but I want to get this car back up and running with that new motor because it's going to be badass. Alright, the new motor is just about all assembled with everything that I can do with the motor out of the car. Really what's left is to put the flywheel and the clutch on once we get it up on the engine hoist. But it's late, tomorrow's another day. And hopefully, fingers crossed, have it installed and ready for the first fire up and hope that it all goes well. Alright, everything is in the car, everything's hooked up. We got spark, we got fuel, hopefully, we got oil pressure, we double checked that, battery's hooked up. We don't have a cooling system hooked up because I got to figure something out with the radiator, the throttle cable. The bracket's not going to work because everything's a lot taller. There's a lot of little things I got to do to button everything up to actually make it drivable, but we are just about ready for the first start, and we're going to hope that it doesn't blow up. All right, so the next day, we weren't able to get the motor started yesterday. There was a couple times that it tried to bark to life. We went through the steps. You know, we have plenty of fuel. The carb's got fuel. We have spark. The MSD box is working, but it seems like the spark is super weak, and also the motor is cranking over slowly. So we're down to two theories. A, the stock starter is not enough to turn over the higher compression and the more cubic inches. And B, we also think the battery is too small too. Works for the 302, and so does the starter, but it seems like the starter is working too hard, drawing too many amps, not leaving enough amperage for the MSD box to run properly. So we're going to start with the battery because we can go to the parts store and get that. Timing. Well, after several attempts to finally get the car started, we finally got it to fire up. It was a combination of a couple things, between the battery not having enough cranking amps for the more cubic inches and the higher compression, and the stock starter drawing a ton of amps and taking some away from the MSD box, causing the voltage to drop way below 12 volts and causing a very weak spark. But the main issue was the fact that I had the timing off. The balancer that I bought doesn't have a specific mark that's marked at TDC, and when I put the engine together and put the balancer on, I should have made a note as to where TDC was specifically, so that way I didn't have to go through this issue. But this balancer, you can see it, has 0 through 40 on the backside and then 0 through 40 again, continuing down the balancer. Now, I figured that 0 mark there was the top dead center. So as we were trying to start it, the motor was way too retarded, and despite checking to make sure that I had the distributor in the correct position at TDC, it just wasn't right the whole time. So it wasn't until I pulled the spark plug, put a feeler in there, and felt the piston come all the way up and stop at top dead center, looked at the balancer and realized it was actually where that 40 mark and the 10 mark overlap. That is top dead center. I should have spent the extra money on a higher quality balancer, and I probably wouldn't have gone through this issue. But we have what we have. We're gonna make it work, and the motor runs. It sounds healthy. Once I actually timed it right and put a ton of timing into it, changed the battery out, it fired right up, and it sounds nasty. It does help that it's got open headers, so it sounds a little better. It sounds a little louder and aggressive than it's gonna sound with a full exhaust on it, but with a bass tune on the carburetor and the initial idle timing not absolutely dialed in yet, I'm super happy with how it sounds, and I'm super stoked to get this thing buttoned up and roadworthy. Now, we have a couple different things to figure out. There was an oil leak right in that corner where the timing cover, the block, and the oil pan all meet up. I think I didn't put enough RTV in there. The oil pan also hit the sway bar despite being spaced down properly. The front part of the sump down there was sitting on top of the sway bar, so I had to unbolt it, and I'm gonna have to make bigger spacers to space that down just a little bit. The swap headers, the 351 swap headers, hit my steering shaft. It's a Fleming River steering shaft, and I have to trim down a couple bolts or studs that are too long anyway, because they come in contact and I can't steer the car very well without them hitting the header. The fact that this is a taller intake and the motor is taller in general, the stock throttle cable does not reach the bracket. So I'm going to have to either fab up a new bracket or buy a new throttle cable. So that's another thing to figure out. My alternator wires are too short because I relocated it from being up here with a stock bracket like I had on the 302, which is right here, this ugly looking thing. It's just a tensioning rod. It's a way cleaner look. But now the alternator is flipped and the wires are too short, so I gotta lengthen those. This morning I picked up a 3-inch Mac Pro chamber and then some matching Mac mufflers. So we're gonna put those on. But just to get the car roadworthy, like I said, I'm gonna throw that set on because it's all bolted up and ready. So again, just a couple little things that I need to button up to make sure this car is roadworthy. And once we're all set with that, we can get this motor fully broken in the right way and really start putting miles on this car and start beating the hell out of it, because that's what I built it for, and I cannot wait for it. So stay tuned for future videos of us doing a bunch of testing with this motor. I want to put the draggy on it. I want to do some sound clips with the Mac muffler setup. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to do with this car and bring you guys along for the ride. Again, this is the first full ground up build that I've ever done, where we bring the block to a machine shop and order all brand new rotating assembly and everything. So I'm super happy to see, relieved that it fired up and didn't make any knocking noises. And I've overall just had a ton of fun building this motor. I can't wait to have more fun with this. So again, stay tuned for those future videos. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.